Topping our lineup here on The Now, people already go to Canada to get cheaper prescription drugs, but now the government is working on a plan to make them available to all of us legally. There are questions about safety, though. We'll be getting into that. Plus, preserving the history surrounding the Apollo 11 moon landing. We have a rare inside look at what it took to bring the Apollo Mission Control Center back to life. And one online bank is trying to get new customers by offering a rate on its savings account that is way over the national average. We have what you need to consider before cashing in on deals just like this one.
Thank you, Chris. You're watching The Now Indy on RTV6. I'm Amanda Starantino. A vehicle stolen was found, but it's still challenging a Johnson County agency to find a way to get seniors to their critical services. The Now's Rafael Sanchez reports on the cleanup, the concern, and the community support from Johnson County.
There's a lot of effort to get this van back on the road. How bad is it, and what's it going to take to get that vehicle back in transit order?
Well, the bad part was the unknown. When the vehicle was found, there were traces of heroin, there was a spoon, there were needles, so no one was really sure what was in it.
This is not just a vehicle. It's a mobile bridge connecting those with no transportation to vital services like their doctor's appointments. The problem: the Johnson County Senior Services van was stolen back on July the 11th while dropping off a patient. The key was in the ignition. When the van was recovered, the interior was found in horrible conditions and unfit for people to ride.
First, it has been an incredible challenge. It also has taken a lot of creative scheduling on my dispatcher's part, a lot of flexibility with my driver's part, and even on the passengers that have been entrusted to our care to get them where they need to go.
Indianapolis-based More Restoration is donating the muscle power and the machinery to clean up the van so people can use it once again.
This is home. We're an Indianapolis company. We service Indianapolis and Indiana, and we give back to the community in a number of ways, and this is just one of the ways that our owner chooses to give back to the community.
Even after all of this cleanup, this van will be out of service for several more days. The vehicle needs a new key system. The thief is still on the loose and presumably still has the keys to the van. Working for you in Franklin, Rafael Sanchez, RTV6.
On days I'm bursting with energy, I don't know if today is one of those, there's my destination after the 7 o'clock news. Take a walk down Meridian Street. It'd be perfect conditions for that this evening to end up on Monument Circle. Temperatures no warmer than 80 and as cool as 77 right now in Lafayette. This arrives with low humidity and a nice breeze out of the northeast. Temperatures slowly fall this evening. We'll be in the 60s at 11 o'clock tonight. Any fair weather clouds that you have now will clear out tonight. That sets the stage for temperatures around the 60-degree mark. Some of you may still fall into the upper 50s, but generally we'll see these overnight lows slowly creep a little warmer, just like the afternoon high temperatures. Tomorrow, August 1st, low humidity, temperature 78 at noon. We'll hit 82 for that modest afternoon high.
Car companies are doing more to try and keep kids from being left in hot cars. Hyundai saying today that its child monitoring system will be standard to most cars by 2022. We want to show you an example of how it works. Take a look.
Being fine, we all can die on a dime, but there never was a time we didn't.
This one. Now, this is the rear occupant alert system. Sensors monitor the back seats for movements, and it'll warn drivers if anyone's been left behind in the car. Now, Hyundai isn't the only car maker that's offering this kind of feature. Kia has some similar technology that can detect if there's someone's in the back seat, even if they're sleeping or not moving at all. Nissan and GM also have backseat reminder systems, but these kind of features, they aren't really new, even though we're hearing about them so often. KidsInCars.org has pushed for this feature in all cars for the past 20 years. It's currently working to get what's called the Hot Cars Act passed. It would require all cars to have backseat reminder systems, and it really may just seem like a good common sense way to protect children, but it has been something that's been very difficult to make a law.
This is a very, very, very small percentage of the fleet of vehicles that are out and about in our country every day. And nobody believes this could happen to them. So people don't think they need the technology. People can't wrap their heads around how this could happen to a loving, responsible parent.
The Hot Car Act is currently under committee consideration. Let's start the Now newsfeed. Older Americans do seem to be drinking more. The Journal of the American Geriatric Society found 10% of people over the age of 65 binge drank in the past month. The number was 7% in 2006. The governor of Puerto Rico will resign later this week. Ricardo Rossello tapping Pedro Pierluisi to take over. Now, he would still have to be confirmed, and it's not certain that that would even happen, but he did used to represent the island in Congress. Rossello is stepping down after a scandal involving leaked insensitive text messages. Well, take a look right here. This is an image of Eric as a Category 3 hurricane, Noah, tweeting out the satellite photo. You can see the eye right there in the Pacific. Eric is expected to impact Hawaii tomorrow, but not make landfall. Let's get back to our lineup. And people are going to Canada for cheaper prescription drugs, but now the government here is working on a plan to make them available to all of us legally. We're going to take a look at how that would work and still some of the possible risks.
50 Rallies and Checkers. Best foodies know the deal.
Welcome back to the Now Indy on RTV6. Tonight, one East Side neighborhood is rejuvenated thanks to the help of volunteers. Today, Indianapolis city agencies came together with community members to tackle the issue of litter and illegal dumping in the Tuxedo Park neighborhood. That's in the area of Sherman Drive, East Michigan Street, and East Washington Street. Volunteers cleaned up trash and debris that people dumped illegally. That includes construction materials, broken electronics, and household waste.
It's important for several reasons. One of the main reasons is to tackle blight, to improve the quality of life for our Indianapolis residents, to address each community of Indianapolis and show support. Have the city of Indianapolis come together.
If someone is dumping materials on your property, you can contact the Mayor's Action Center. That number is 317-327-4622.
Today, the Trump administration announced that it will open the door to allow Americans to buy lower-cost prescription drugs from other countries. Corey Rangel with reaction on this proposal and why this could face some resistance.
Everyone has their passport, their license.
For months, Jillian Ripolone has been traveling from Michigan to Canada to buy her insulin.
I just called for a bottle of Novo Rapid.
She is part of a growing number of Americans driving to Canada to save on their prescription drugs. Quinn Nystrom is another patient who heads north, driving 3 hours to get her insulin.
It works just like my American insulin. So, yes, I will go and use $30 insulin instead of being ripped off and being held hostage here in America and spending $340 for a vial.
According to Reuters, at least 10 states have passed or proposed laws to allow bringing in prescription drugs from other countries. But actual shipments would not be legal without federal approval. Now, the Trump administration says it wants to bring those cheaper Canadian drugs to the U.S. as a way to bring down prescription prices. The plan would allow state governments, pharmacies, and drug manufacturers to come up with proposals for safe importation and then submit those for federal approval.
I'm happy to commend anybody, Republicans, independents, Democrats, who are taking steps to take any steps towards a direction that's going to lower the price of insulin.
The pharmaceutical industry has argued drugs from other countries may not be as safe because they're not regulated by the FDA. Experts say the plan could also take years to implement, which alarms patients like Quinn.
That is several more years of innocent Americans dying. We don't have years.
Another hurdle, the move is expected to face pushback from Canada, which opposes the idea over fears it could impact its own drug supply or raise the costs for Canadians. I'm Corey Rangel reporting.
All right, Corey, thank you. And more to get to here in our lineup as we mark 50 years since the Apollo 11 moon landing. We're getting a rare inside look at the effort to preserve this moment in history.
50 Rallies and Checkers. Best foodies know the deal.
Let's start the Now News feed. Should the FAA have taken action sooner on the Boeing 737 MAX? The Wall Street Journal says the agency knew there was a high risk that this plane could go down again after that first crash last year in Indonesia. The FAA did tell pilots about these concerns. Less than 5 months after that first crash, an Ethiopian airline plane went down. Both crashes together, killing 346 people. Well, if you take heartburn medication, your allergies may be a side effect. A new study looked at millions of people taking heartburn drugs. It found the amount of people who are going on anti-allergy medications skyrocketed, and researchers think that the chemicals that are in heartburn drugs may cause our immune systems to go a bit haywire. This next one, a bit of a morbid thought, because experts in Australia a bit confused by what they found in a dead crocodile because they found an orthopedic plate. So now that team is looking for missing pets or potentially people to figure out exactly where that plate came from. Ford is trying to show the dangers of driving while high. The car makers at Fresno State University today, Ford developed this suit that this person's wearing right here a few years ago to let people experience what it's actually like to drive high or drunk. Now you can see people right here, they didn't fare too well driving over some cones while trying to drive in this suit. What makes it so difficult is the suit has headphones that play sounds to confuse and distract you behind the wheel, glasses blur your vision, then you have bands that restrict your neck, arm, and leg movements. Now, yeah, look right there. As you see states legalize marijuana, auto groups, they are joining forces to try and break the idea that driving high is okay.
When we come together and talk about these issues, the public gets the message, and hopefully it'll improve safe driving, and someday we can be celebrating the 100 days of safe driving instead of the deadliest 100 days.
Ford says nearly 10 million people reported driving under the influence of drugs like marijuana, LSD, even heroin last year. The Insurance Information Institute found crash claims went up 6% in states where marijuana is legal. Now, compared to sober drivers, those who use both alcohol and marijuana are 25 times more likely to be in a fatal accident. Well, you might have an email account that you just don't use anymore. Experts say having those email accounts and not monitoring them could pose a huge danger. Now, older accounts could pose an even bigger risk because we're less likely to notice unusual activity there, and you may forget that your personal info's there.
So if you're able to get their username and password off one site that may be a much easier target, you can oftentimes take those usernames and passwords and try them at banks or try them at more important places, and you'll get right in.
Now, security experts say the best thing to do, just delete those accounts. But if you do want to keep them around, add an extra layer of security by adding multi-factor authorization, which means if someone wants to log in from a device that you don't recognize, you'll have the ability to approve the login by text.
Thanks, Chris. You may have an Alexa device or video doorbell. Millions of people now have smart home equipment, but many of us have not secured those devices and are sending those video images to the world. Working for you, John Mattery shows us how to keep our home safe.
Smart home gadgets like video doorbells were the hottest sellers on Amazon Prime Day this year. But as you set them up, make sure you're not sharing too much information with strangers. We've come a long way since Alexa's arrival.
Alexa, set kitchen lights to 100%.
Now in 2019, almost everything in your home can be connected in a smart network.
What is this called?
It is called the GE Kitchen Hub.
Best Buy's Jeffrey Kalfrat showed me GE's new smart vent hood that's like a big iPad over your stove.
You can actually go into the camera setting on it. It has a camera that shoots right down at the cooktop.
Mom Amanda Compton loves it all.
It does a lot of work for you. When you have kids, it kind of helps out a lot.
Now, the prices on smart home security devices are all pretty similar. So what you want to do first is decide, do you want to work with the Nest system, the Ring system, or somebody else?
So we've got Nest, Blink, Ring.
Ring is now part of Amazon. Nest is part of Google. Choose your universe, spend between $200 and $2,000, and you've got a smart home.
We've got cameras, we've got alarm systems.
But caution, IT consultant David Hatter says a hacker can watch your video cameras and more if you don't change your default password.
Or buy a Nest thermostat and plug it in and don't change any of the settings, you're ripe for hacking.
To protect yourself, change the default passwords on every smart device. Put the PC you use for banking on a separate Wi-Fi network if possible. And keep Alexa out of your bedroom because you can't be certain it's not listening to everything you say and do. If you find smart appliances a little too intrusive, the good news is you can still buy old-fashioned thermostats, door locks, and appliances, at least for now. As always, don't waste your money. I'm John Mattery for RTV6.
You're ever watching the evening news and you say, man, I'm glad I don't have to mess with rush hour traffic. That is what you're missing tonight. Just slow going downtown. Of course, a lot of people finding out I-70 at the split closed downtown. Our weather's in a state of perfection, so I thought we'd look in for a second. This is Honolulu. Weather now camera there. You can see the cloud cover. Some rain from Hurricane Eric is expected to reach the Hawaiian Islands, but we're not expecting any direct hit from Eric. It's a Category 3 hurricane now and will stay south. So if you know anyone in the Hawaiian Islands, they're keeping track of Eric closely. For us, we're staring at a blue sky. Quiet pattern, that's for the next several days. Chance for any rain doesn't come until probably Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. We'll add a couple degrees each day to the forecast till temperatures reach the upper 80s, but not tomorrow. A mixture of clouds and sunshine, 82 the magic number. The breeze out of the northeast, that will make these temperatures feel great with low humidity and sunshine to go with it. As you look at Friday, RTV6 day at the State Fair, opening day at the State Fair, band day as well. Everybody enjoys nice conditions. Temperatures in the low to mid 80s, about average for this time of the year, and the humidity still very low too.
This month is marking 50 years since the moon landing. Annie Taylor had the chance to be on the ground floor of the Apollo 11 Mission Control Center in Houston, and she has an inside look at the restoration project that was recently done for the anniversary at NASA.
The Apollo 11 mission happened 50 years ago, so you could only imagine this room was buzzing with people. But now it has become a historical landmark.
That's one small step for man.
1969, a pivotal moment in history.
One giant leap for mankind.
You'll hear a lot about, all the astronauts and the actual moon landing and the LEM and all of that. But this is where all those decisions were made and helped them land on the moon. So that's why this is so important.
Sandra Tetley, the Historic Preservation Officer at NASA, was preparing for this year's 50th anniversary back in 2015 when they decided to restore the Apollo 11 mission control at the Johnson Space Center.
We have been working on this project pretty diligently, starting at the research phase for about 3 years now.
Sonia Youngenberg and her team at Utah Companies were chosen to lead the restoration.
We had the responsibility of wanting to make sure that it was done right.
Taking a room that hadn't been used since the 90s.
The room was in disrepair and it hadn't been maintained.
With the help of 100 people, the process began.
We started construction. We did not realize that the wallpaper wasn't original.
One of the many things they learned along the way. Month after month, they sifted through photos, film, and artifacts.
As you might imagine, when people go and take pictures or video, they're not looking at the stuff on the desk or under the desk.
To recreate the past, they needed to go on the hunt for items like this, and even this.
She spent months on eBay and on the internet trying to source these items.
One huge component of the room they didn't have to search for were the original consoles used by the flight controllers, like director Gene Kranz.
And I remember Mr. Kranz came in one day and had been doing an interview, and he turns to us, he said, "Where's my foot pedal?" And all of us stood there dumbfounded for a second, and we're like, oh, there's a foot pedal. And so we went and found foot pedals.
One of the greatest accomplishments, the big screen.
These were not available. They're not original. We had to recreate them, and we had to recreate the detail in them from looking at footage.
Jenny Keys says attention to detail was mission critical.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool.
From the numbers on the wall, the exact ashtrays, scraping the gum off the visitor seats, matching the old carpet that doesn't even exist anymore, even having a bouquet of roses that was there for every lunch.
Now, there were some artifacts that they couldn't find, and that would be these cameras right up here. But being at NASA, they had 3D printers right around the corner, so those are 3D printed cameras.
We've basically created a museum.
3 years later, the project was complete.
The plan was to have it open by the anniversary of the moon landing, and we made it, barely.
But the seal of approval came from the original flight controllers who were over the moon about seeing the massive fragment of space history restored. Houston, we do not have a problem.
Gene Kranz said that he, didn't quite cry, but he felt a rush of emotion, and he really loved it.
This is a representation of what Americans can accomplish when we put our mind to it.
Reporting from Houston, I'm Annie Taylor.
So cool, Annie. Thank you. And finally in our lineup today, you have likely seen more ads for online banks these days. They are offering much higher interest rates than the traditional ones, which may sound great, but ahead, we have what you need to consider before you make the switch with your money.